Chances are, if you're watching this, that you struggle with procrastination as much as I do. You can't get yourself to sit down, to do the hard work, to really get down in the dirt, get your hands dirty, and do what's necessary to achieve success. And it's really frustrating. But there is some things that we can figure out about ourselves that'll help us procrastinate less and maybe even get us to actually sit down and do the work when we need to. Procrastination can just be the reduction of friction. You can get rid of that friction and all of a sudden you don't procrastinate anymore. But sometimes it's a bit deeper rooted, and that's what today's video is all about. So first, we need to talk about what leads us down this path of procrastination in the first place. What leads us down this path of despair, so to speak. The first that I found is I'm way too self-critical. If you think in your mind and visualize something in your head that you want to create, you want to build this insane thing in this short amount of time, like a video, for example, or a painting, or you want to write a song, and you have this idea in your head of this very talented person that's been doing it for years, and you want to emulate that. You want to get to that level. You want that piece, that single piece, to be exactly as good as that. That'll absolutely create procrastination, because there's no way you're going to create that level of perfectionism the first time you do it. Maybe not even the 100th or 1000th time, but it's that progression, and that's what we need to understand too. The second is kind of tying into this, and that's comparing to others' work. If we see some kind of masterpiece on the internet and we get inspiration to create it ourselves, chances are we're probably going to be let down by our own abilities, and that's simply because we haven't had the training and the time that those people have had creating those videos. I know I especially have this with new YouTubers that came from a filmmaking background. I see them with a few hundred subscribers, and a few weeks later they have a couple thousand subscribers, and I find myself not only getting a bit jealous, but also thinking about, why can't I do this? And then it makes me procrastinate because I see my competition, I see how good they are. The third, and honestly these are all kind of tied together, but that is overthinking and perfectionism. Time and again I've had to remind myself that I just need to post. I can't sit there for hours thinking about all the little details and how they need to be perfect, and the sound design and the music design, color grading, and the frames and everything that I need to get has to be perfect, and that just isn't true. First of all, not many people, if any, are going to notice at all if something isn't perfect, especially in the beginning. And second, that's just part of the fun. We want to get a little bit better at something at every time you iterate. You want to focus one time on something simple and then gradually increase the amount of difficulty. For the example of YouTube videos, if you're creating a cinematic video, you could focus on the sound design first. Make the sounds perfect, get the audio clips, record them even, really go crazy with it, make it awesome, and then you can kind of move on to color grading and then master that skill, learn a bunch of things about it, and so on until you reach that level of perfection eventually. So now it does go a little bit deeper sometimes though, and procrastination can really be a piece of your soul, and it can really hurt sometimes because you don't want to procrastinate, but something deep down is just holding you back somehow. And that's kind of where I've found myself to be more recently. The first that I've heard a lot from friends is anxiety. What will people think if I put this out there? What if people want to approach me about it? What if you hear, I've actually had this, what if you hear your voice on someone else's computer and you feel this secondhand embarrassment for yourself of people watching your video? The second that I can definitely resonate with is overwhelm. I definitely have this at work too. If something's very difficult, very complex, it has a lot of steps, a lot of people I have to talk to make things happen, I get overwhelmed and I procrastinate. I don't want to get it done because it's too hard. Another big one for creators is the idea that you just aren't good enough. A lot of this has to do with imposter syndrome. You feel like you're teaching people, you might even know a little bit less than them, but you feel like you're teaching them or you're some kind of guru or something, but that's just not the truth. And what I've heard before is that you should be a guide and not a guru, and I really like that idea. It's more that you're helping your fellow people on YouTube, like I'm trying to do with you guys, and guide them in the right direction. You don't have to be a know-it-all.
You know what kind of train this is? Well, do ya? Actually, it's a Baldwin 284 S3 class Berkshire type steam locomotive.
You don't even have to be an expert in your field. You just have to have an idea or a unique way of thinking about something and guide your audience in that direction. What it can also be is the straight up fear of failure. You put hours into this thing that you're going to put out there, and then it gets 10 views or 5 people come to your speech. It's a real possibility, and it's gonna happen. It's just part of life. You need to see it more as just practicing your craft. It's not so much about the fear of failure, but embracing it. I watched one of Mark Manson's videos lately. He's got a great sense of humor, but what he said is that if something threatens your identity, you're 10 times more likely to avoid it. And something I especially struggle with is the idea that my previous work wasn't the best work, so I continue to see that as a reflection of myself, and that threatens my identity as a creator, since I think I can't create anything better than that. So I do anything but what I'm supposed to do, which is make videos. Something I've more recently realized, and actually comes from a lot of different aspects of my life, even dating back to my school days, is that I find that the level of quality that I'm looking for, oftentimes, in my mind at least, just isn't worth my effort. And for this reason, I've had a really hard time fully committing to something, even as simple as school or work or a project that I'm working on. I simply can't fully apply myself because I can't get myself to get that full quality through the amount of effort that it takes. And this is also driven by procrastination. But this kind of goes in a circle, and that's where it kind of confused me. I wanted to do better work. But in order to do that better work, I needed to actually commit and do it. But because the quality of my videos in the past hasn't been the best, I had this idea that I couldn't create that quality, and so I couldn't commit and create that quality for the current videos. It was kind of an endless loop or cycle. Here's some ways though that I've found have really worked for me, although I still struggle with it all the time really. These really help me cope and actually help me get started. The first is to just stop thinking about your work in a positive way. If you have this idea that you're going to create something awesome this week, you're going to create this great masterpiece like we've talked about before, don't do this. You're setting the standards way too high for yourself. The bar is here and you're going to produce here and you're going to be let down and you'll procrastinate in the future. So just set the goal of finishing something. Something as simple as creating it, posting it, seeing that something is done and that you can scratch it off a list is very satisfying. And if you had that initial idea of I just want to post something and then it's actually good, then it's really going to exceed your expectations and you're going to be even more motivated next time. I sometimes even feel that I need to lower the stakes. You might see yourself as yourself in the future, and you're kind of looking back and seeing yourself in a spotlight on the way to success. And you see yourself going through the motions and it all kind of seems irrelevant. You think you're going to make it anyway, so why would you put in the effort? And this is a really bad way of thinking. So what I like to do is lower the stakes. I take it day by day. I, again, focus on publishing that piece of content, creating something that has value, helping somebody that I know I was a couple years ago and I could have really used this information, and that really makes me feel good, and that's really what it's all about. Some way it'll make someone's day a little bit better, or you can improve their life a little bit. And honestly, a miracle for overcoming procrastination kind of links back to our previous video, and that is to simply just find inspiration in relaxing activities. Go and watch your favorite movie if you create YouTube videos, or if you're a writer, go read some blog posts, go read some books. Get some inspiration, and oftentimes I find when I indulge myself in that content, I get inspired and I get lit up and I go and sit at my desk and actually want to create that thing. Because if you just come home from work and you start working on your creative side hustle, it doesn't feel the same. You need to get inspired first. You need to get in the headspace of being a creator before you can create. And I found this to work wonders for my procrastination. So procrastination really does eat at the core of who we are. It touches our very worst fears, it messes with our anxiety levels, it can really even make you question your identity. And it's something that's honestly very difficult to deal with if you're anyone who wants to pursue anything great and meaningful in life. But by using these tools, I feel like we can be one step closer to being the best version of ourselves and maybe even be less average. Let's hope that's the case anyway. All right. I'll see you next time.